As we record this, we are days away from the start of the Olympic Games and immediately the start of the team figure skating competition. And even though I am under-rested and under-informed, I'm a podcaster, and that's never stopped me from having opinions before. So
it's so true. It's so true.
So we're going to jump in and we're going to talk about the team. We're going to keep this brief because this is coming at us so fast.
It's all happening very quickly. We've had years of lead up, and yet I feel completely unprepared. I wonder how the skaters feel. Hopefully far more prepared.
Hopefully. But yeah, why don't you get us started?
Welcome to Choreography, a podcast about the greatest sport on ice, figure skating. I'm Wendy Buskey.
And I'm Adrian Buskey. And before we get started, I have a small airing of grievance that I want to put out.
Oh my.
It's just that, so 2 days ago, as I was working on the Ice Dance preview before this, I was going out to grab images to use in the episode, which is, we always, now that we're in video, we put these
on the YouTubes.
Yeah, on the YouTubes. And when the people who watch it there, they get a visual of the different skaters and stuff. And I'm always pulling that from the ISU feed. Then I discovered that the ISU had now blocked VPNs from being able to view most figure skating content when you're using a VPN on YouTube. So many of us who are figure skating fans, some of us use Peacock or whatever service in various countries allows you to see ISU feeds, but for quite a while, a lot of us have been able to see a lot of it just because we've been using a VPN in order to change our location. And I understand that there are any of 1,000 different reasons for rights and broadcast things and stuff why that happens. But it feels very telling that this happened a few days or a week before the Olympics.
Of course.
That suddenly the ISU is locked down. I'm
hoping it's temporary just because everything with the Olympics is locked down, like hard.
Yeah, but they're not even streaming it there. So I don't know. I
don't know.
But it's super frustrating because this sport just can't help but shoot itself in the foot over and over and over again. It creates so many barriers to watch and appreciate, whether it's, Peacock disappearing things a couple of days after they air. So you have to really be on top of things in real time, or it's geo-blocking things so that people can't watch them in other areas. Like, it's super frustrating. And from just a purely technical standpoint, as I pull all those images from there, it just means that as we make more videos, things I don't already have a backlog for are going to be a lot harder to pull and to find without grabbing them from dodgy feeds from people who sometimes recorded like feeds from their phone or something and stuck it up on YouTube. It's really frustrating. It's a real nightmare. So if like some of the images I use are not as high quality or just they're not there, it's because I don't have access to them. And, at some point it would be great to maybe create a relationship with figure skating photographers that maybe we could use photos from them or whatever. But, we're two people sitting in a home office. Like, it's not like we have a budget for licensing photos and stuff.
Yeah.
So stuff like this is just another one of those barriers for not just for people like us. I mean, it could sound like I'm whining like, oh no, I can't use things in my YouTube video, but it means that lots and lots of other skating fans, because I saw it on Reddit, like tons of people talking about how they had just been blocked out of this. And it's super frustrating. And again, I understand licensing things are an issue, and definitely that's hitting a lot of the skaters at these games too.
Oh yeah.
Lots of surprises around that, but it's super annoying. It's very frustrating. It's unique to this sport. It needs to be fixed. But anyway, let's talk about team.
I have one note before we move on, which is just this Olympics, I'm hoping will really broaden the audience again, because there are so many exciting skaters that are going to be a part of this. And I really expect the competition to be outstanding and be a real Olympics, unlike Beijing where you had no crowds. So it felt a little weird.
Yeah.
However, by the ISU doing that, they're adding one more barrier to entry. So please, ISU, not that you ever listen to this, but we beg of you, let's find a way. I'll help. I don't know how, but I'll try.
There's just so many frustrations around all this. And we know that there are, again, we talked about like Sabate, like in his Minions program, and how that was a problem, and that might actually happen now.
It might happen.
As of the last time that we got any updates, he had gotten licenses for everything, but all but like the Pharrell song in the song. So it could happen.
Come on, Pharrell.
Yeah, get with it.
Make it happen.
But I've also heard that Alexander Solevko is having licensing rights with his Prince program.
No.
Yeah. So,
don't tell me that. That's such a good program.
Right. I know it's one of the ones I'm most looking forward to, like seeing at these Olympics. So many skaters just showed up and got blindsided by issues around this stuff. It's so stupid. Fix yourself. Fix your face, ISU. Fix your face, Olympics. Like, this isn't new.
No.
This isn't new. I don't understand why this sport can exist for 100 years and you still get to these moments and they're like, oh, we didn't get this sorted out ahead of time, right? And it should not be an onus on the skaters and their coaches to figure this stuff out. They are not licensing people, right? Like the federations exist to fix these problems because you're going to have people who can have some level of expertise on them. So very irritated about this stuff anyway. But anyway, yeah, we'll talk about team.
Welcome to Choreography, a podcast about the greatest sport on ice, figure skating. Okay.
Try number 2. So,
the team event.
Yeah.
It's coming. Starts Friday, February 6th. My brother came up to me yesterday and was like, do you know that there's some exhibitions happening the same day as the opening ceremonies? And I'm like, that's not exhibitions. That's competition. It starts the same day. So just in case
so
anyone
didn't realize
else,
that's actually the team.
No.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So if you're like him, or I probably not, but just in case anyone else is, let them know this is actual competition and it's starting now. On Friday, February 6th, the women's short program, right out the gate, the rhythm dance and the pair short program. Saturday, we're getting the men's short program and the free dance. And Sunday, we're getting the pairs free skate, the women's free skate, and the men's free skate. So 3 days of getting a whole bunch of the skaters we're going to be seeing competing in their individual events for the rest of the fortnight of the Olympics. But we get so many of them sort of, I always feel like it's like a little extra preview in the beginning, but it's for medals. So it's very tense. But hopefully a fun way to start for people.
Yeah. Can we talk about, though, what a rude and unthinking thing it is for the scheduling of this stuff, that you have the very last event is the men's free skate, the discipline that has potentially the most impact on the body of the skaters because of the quads and just the level of difficulty they do. And then it's only going to be a few days away from them, 2 days or something.
2 days to the short program.
To their actual individual short program. I understand that these schedules there's a lot going on. Short track has a big impact on this stuff as well because
for sure.
it's using
They're sharing venue.
Using the same venue and whatever. But like just thinking about the impact this will have on the highest level, most elite skaters is crazy.
And while as we go through this preview, we know some of the people competing, not all of them. I think that's why you're going to see some swaps. So what I mean by that, if you're not familiar with the team competition, halfway through, essentially after the short program that everyone does, teams have the ability to swap in somebody else for the free skate. And I would put money on the fact that in Team Japan, you're going to see a swap.
Well, let's make a note, too, that they can only do that in 2 disciplines.
Exactly.
So when you're sending, not every country qualifies for this. So there's only a handful of countries that...
Well, let's start there then.
Sure.
Let's back it up. Teams that are going to be competing, there's not every country that sent representatives to the Olympics is competing in team. Only 10. So you have the US, Japan, Italy, Canada, Georgia, France, Great Britain, China, Poland, and South Korea gets in there, even though they don't have a pairs team, because you can compete with only 3 disciplines.
Right.
So,
yeah, but that puts you at a big disadvantage
because
only 5 teams will qualify for the free skates.
Exactly.
So half of these teams will wash out after the short program. So every team has the ability to split 2 disciplines into different skaters. So one skater or one team in the short program, one skater or team in the free skate. But they can only do that with 2, not all 4.
Exactly.
Now, some of these delegations only have one team or one skater in each one of their disciplines, so they're not going to have that option to do any kind of splits. But for teams like the United States and Japan, who have deeper fields, they're going to have some of those options. And that creates an extra layer of strategy in how they approach all of this.
100%. And I don't know if we should get into all of how it works in terms of the scoring, because it gets very tricky.
I think
I think the easiest way to put it is all 10 teams compete in the short program / rhythm dance. And then your top 5 team scores are the countries that move forward into the final.
Yeah. Now, notably, essentially the individual scores, like in the individual events, don't really matter so much as the placement.
Exactly.
So when they get the placement, they'll get a certain number of points for being in the first place
Anywhere
position.
from 1 to 10.
Right. And it's those cumulative scores that will add up together and decide who are the 5 teams that make it into the free.
Exactly. Like if, for instance, in the short program, by some miraculous event, like Junwon Cha wins the short program, it's entirely possible you do not see him in the free skate because that's irrelevant. Because if the rest of Team Korea doesn't perform well and they don't equal that number of points to be one of those top 5 countries, his placement is essentially irrelevant other than good job, June. It's kind of disregarded.
Yeah.
So it's the country's points, not just the individuals.
Yeah.
So if that hasn't lost you yet, let's move into who's actually going to be competing that we know, because a few of them we do know, but a lot of them we don't.
Yeah, it was my understanding that like this past Monday, the teams were supposed to have been selected and turned over, but there's an air of mystery over this, so I don't actually know.
If they were, and I don't know any of this for sure, the last thing I saw was that, at least for the US, what I saw was that Friday the 6th, like in the middle of the night in US time, we'll get announcements on who's going to be competing in the short program. And then the following day, I think, we're going to get who's competing in the free. So basically, it's just going to be happening in real time. So I don't know if that's something they've already decided and have submitted it and just not announcing, or if they can swap all the way up until the event and they're just kind of holding out until they get right there, which honestly, I could see holding back, if nothing else, for Maddie Chock and Evan Bates. Now that we have watched the Ice Dance Glitter and Gold Netflix documentary, we have a better view into the fact that Evan has been having prolonged back issues. So they might not do both ends of the competition, which is not what we expected. I expected Maddie and Evan to do the rhythm dance and the free dance because they're your reigning world champions. You're going to want them there. But that might not be the case.
And their performance at last Olympics in the team is a big part of why they have a gold medal now.
Oh, absolutely it is.
So, and their surprise success in team, even though it didn't translate once they got, because they were 4th in the individual, but they, I believe they won the free skate in team.
They did.
Yeah, at the last Olympics.
Or wait, did they win or did they just beat the Russian team? I can't remember. I think they won. Yeah, they won.
Yeah.
It's been 4 years.
Yeah. It's so okay. Well, let's start with the US then. So let's just compartmentalize this a little bit. So right now we have a rumor that Alysa Liu will skate for the women in the short program,
which would make perfect sense.
Yeah. So the debate around this was like, with the 3 of our Blade Angels that we're sending there, we have her, Amber Glenn, and Isabel Levito. Like, who do you choose for this team? Alysa and Amber are the obvious choices because they're higher ranked. They have higher score thresholds.
Right.
Now, setting yourself up in the short program is really, really important.
Extremely. You need the steadiest person.
Right. And the argument could be made that you would put in Amber Glenn because she's got a triple axel. And so that score threshold puts her in a better position to compete, particularly against the Japanese. However, that means that's also going to be your most likely volatile jump, and a fall in the short program here could be disastrous for the entire team.
Yes.
So Alysa, who is the least flappable member of the American contingent, generally speaking, and who has a extremely solid 2-seasoned performed short program that really hits with audiences and with judges, seems like an extremely strong and slightly safer choice to go with here.
It's definitely the safe choice.
Yeah, not trying to rely on a triple axel in order to get ahead there.
Yeah,
but just a solid performance.
I think it's very smart. We don't know any of the others and haven't heard a rumor. I would assume we're going to see Ellie Cam and Danny O'Shea in that short program because of the 2 U.S. pairs teams that are going. They're the steadier and have the better short program.
I highly expect them to use Cam and O'Shea for both of the
Me too.
Of the events.
Of any discipline, that's the one I expect to be swapped the least.
Right. And of course, this is the thing, like, and we didn't kind of do the broad overview here, but like the United States and Japan are kind of your two top teams at this event.
Yes.
However, both of them have 3 really strong disciplines and then 1 weak discipline.
Exactly.
And for the US, it's pairs is the weak point. Cam and O'Shea are capable of really amazing performances, but they are just not in the same score threshold as a lot of the other teams who are going to be in this competition. And Chan and Hao are definitely not, and are more volatile.
Much more volatile.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if I'm choosing the team here, Cam and O'Shea all day for both of those.
Cam and O'Shea all day. I feel like you need a bumper sticker.
I just gave them one. Yes. More than likely, as long as they're healthy and they're practicing well, then that's 2 spots already taken care of.
Yeah.
You have Alysa for that short program. I expect you put Amber Glenn in the free. Because triple axel, bigger score threshold, and win that free skate.
That free skate's fantastic, and she tends to be better in the free. Like, I am in love with her short program, and I would love to see it as many times as I can.
Yeah.
But I think the free is the better case for keeping Amber right there.
Yeah.
In terms of the men, I think you put Ilia in the short, absolutely,
Without
100%.
Question. Without question, you put Ilia in the short.
And then you swap him out in the free if you can. And granted, that's really going to come down to Chock and Bates. Because if Evan can't do both, because the rhythm dance, remember, is the Monday after the team event.
Yeah.
So for their own individual event, it's right after. They have no downtime. So I could see them swapping in Zingis and Kolesnik for their incredible Romeo and Juliet free dance. I just think they need Chock and Bates for the rhythm.
I think there's a couple of considerations here. One, yes, like you're talking about for Chock and Bates, just for the ability to rest and be ready for that individual competition. And, you know, we don't know what shape Evan's back. He might be fine.
I don't know.
And it's, you never want
I hope.
You never want to layer that on top of that, just that expectation. Like we're all looking like, oh,
that's
being
fair.
Creaky out there. But at the same time, them coming in here and putting in really good performances could have an impact on their
100%.
scores and their performances when they get in a positive way. If they come in here and do really, really well, if they have 2 great skates, and it's worth noting, we will probably see Guillot in the short program.
I think they've already confirmed that.
Right. But France is not super likely to make it to the free. So this would be a good chance for Chock and Bates to kind of pull away a little bit as far as like getting ahead of them in this kind of situation. So strategically, it could be really valuable for them to be in both events. But I think having Zingis and Kolesnik as your backup for the free is still a really, really good choice.
Absolutely it is.
With Ilia, the problem is that the other 2 American men are just nowhere near as strong.
Yeah,
and,
that's the problem.
Torgashev can be great. Like we saw him at U.S. Nationals. He
was phenomenal at
He's
US
electric
Nationals.
there in his free skate. If he skated like that, he would put himself into contention. The thing is, though, is that like Ilia is like a superhero, right?
Oh, yeah.
He could go out here and put down the kind of watered down programs that he did at U.S. Nationals, not skate his entire arsenal of jumps, like just do like 4 quads instead of 7, and still walk away with the top spot here in back-to-back. And he's a showman. You can't tell me Ilia doesn't want to come home with 2 golds, right?
Of course he does.
So,
of course he
so
does.
if somebody was going to say, no, I can carry this,
That's true.
Ilia and Chock and Bates are the 2 people that would be like that.
That's true.
But again, if Cam and O'Shea are in both the pairs, that does open up a swap for somebody. And so I think it's going to depend on how secure everything looks after the short programs.
Absolutely. Well, let's move on to Japan because they also haven't identified everything, but there is a strong rumor who it's going to be. We know the dance will have to be Utano Yoshida and Masayo Morita because they are coming to the Olympics to just do the team event.
This is the only thing they're qualified for, is
Yes.
just the team event. And notably, that is the weak spot in the Japanese lineup. Really great team, nowhere near as strong as the other top competitors here.
Exactly.
So they're just fighting to get that sort of mid-level point range to keep their team in here. But you can't put really high expectations on this team. They're very young and they're just not at that same level as a lot of these other teams.
Exactly. However, I've heard that both Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara and Kaori are planning to do both. I think that actually makes sense. Because it's basically saying that they want to win. They're coming in hungry and they're not taking any risks. They're saying, here are our two steadiest competitors, our world champions. They want the best at this level. For the men, they're doing exactly what we've been talking about because the men's competition starts so soon after that. The rumor is that Yuma is going to do the short program and then Shun Sato is going to do the free.
Which is absolutely, that's absolutely what I would have done there.
100% agree.
Yeah, I mean, like, Yuma Kageyama has that brilliant short program.
Oh, it's so good.
It's such an amazing showcase for him. But Shun Sato is the more solid performer and has been more consistent in his free skates.
Exactly.
And if you were going to have somebody to bring it home, Shun is the guy to make that choice with.
I mean, he's clutch. You definitely want Shun.
Yes, so I agree with those choices. I probably would put Ami Nakai in the short program.
That's the one question mark I have. Like, but Kaori's time to say goodbye could just destroy that place.
Yeah.
And if she's perfect, no one's beaten her.
Yeah. It's just that Ami, with a triple axel that's been very secure in the short program, has that a little bit higher score threshold. At their best, they kind of equal out because of Kaori's like total package as far as everything that she brings. So yeah, I mean, strategically from the team, I mean, leaning on Kaori makes a lot of sense. I still probably would have gone with Ami in the short, but I understand the thinking.
Yeah. The third place is kind of the most interesting to me because I feel like the US and Japan, unless there is catastrophe, are really going to be...
Which is very, very possible.
Oh, it's 100% possible. But they'd have to mess up to not go 1-2 in some order.
Yeah.
Because they are so strong.
Yeah.
However, the spoiler to me is Georgia.
Yeah.
Georgia has... It's going to be, because there's only one representative from each discipline.
Right.
Nika Agatse in the men's, Anastasia Gubanova in the women's, Anastasia Metelkina and Luka Barilava in pairs, and Diana Davis and Gleb Smolkin in ice dance. And the thing is, they don't have a weak discipline.
No, they're solid across all. Like, none of them are top tier. Well, I mean,
other than Metelkina and Barilava.
Yeah, Metelkina and Barilava are in that upper echelon of the pairs teams for sure. But yeah, like, there's no weak links here. Yeah, Nika doesn't have the world's greatest artistry, but he has the jump arsenal.
Yes.
Anastasia Gubanova falls apart in short programs sometimes, and if that happens here, that could be a real problem. But she's an extraordinarily artistic skater and can be really, really wonderful. Metelkina and Barilava can be a little inconsistent sometimes, but when they're on, they're super on and very dangerous.
And they're contenders to medal/win in their own individual event.
Yeah, and Diana Davis and Gleb Smolkin just don't make mistakes.
No, they're just solid.
Yeah, they're not the finest of the ice dance teams, but they're amazingly consistent.
Yes.
And have shown that, like, even when other weird screw-ups are happening around them, they keep their stuff together and they make it happen. So yeah, this team could really be a threat for that podium, but man, if somebody screws up hard, they could grab a spot.
It's true. Or they could, if somebody screws up, they could move up.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think the other main contender for that bronze medal or higher, depending on the day, is Italy. That is the medal for the past few years that I've been thinking is what they want. They know that there's only maybe one / maybe two possibilities in the individual events, in that the dance team of Guinard and Fabry could medal in the dance, and there is a long shot outside chance of like a Daniel Grassel or Matteo Rizzo somehow coming through for a podium.
Machi are here
and Conti and Machi, that's true. What am I talking about?
Yeah. I mean, like, Italy is, nothing to turn your nose up at. I mean, like, home ice, home country advantage. Like, they're coming in here hungry for this, and they're going to have a lot of support from the crowd.
Exactly.
And yeah, like you said, I mean, you've got Guinard and Fabry in the ice dance. You have a very, very competitive team there. We should be seeing, I think, Conti and Machi in here. Now, the caveat around, I know they're there.
They are
obviously
there.
They're in Italy anyway, but
it's true.
But the question around them has been Sarah's knee, because she's had an injury. They had to pull out of Europeans. Now, we know they've been training. And I've seen the photos of them. They're hyped and they're ready, but she is always in a knee brace anytime that you see her right now. So, and that's, for a pairs girly is definitely a challenge, but that team has been so good the last couple of seasons. I'm really hyped to see them here, but if they can't compete in both, your second Italian team here is not nearly as strong.
That's the problem. Like, if for any reason they have to swap out or they can only do the short, and Giardi and Ambrosini do the long. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
But it would put a lot more pressure on their one woman representative of Laurinaki Gutman to really come through big for them. And also, they have not said who of the men is going to compete. And I've all along been assuming it's going to be Daniel Grassel because he has the higher point threshold. But looking at Europeans, I would have Daniel Grassel do the short and I'd have Matteo Rizzo do his free.
Yeah.
Because I think he's steadier.
Mm-hmm.
He's more reliable. And he's maybe not going to get as high up, but you only have 5 people anyway.
Yeah.
So,
however, Daniel Grassel's free skate is the Pope is Dead program.
The Pope
and
is
that
dead.
is so tied into Italian culture that like it is designed to hit there in that arena. So yeah, it's a real question there. Guinard and Fabry sometimes don't get scored the way they'd like to, but they're a very consistent team. Laurinaki Gutman is typically very, very consistent, although at Europeans, even though she got on the podium, we saw her be a little bit more fallible than usual.
She had a little more nerves than usual.
She is not typically going to compete scores-wise with the Americans or the Japanese here, but she is a very good choice. But the men could really swing things.
Yes. And honestly, looking at all of the rest of the women outside of Japan, Korea, and the U.S., she could be right in there.
Yeah.
So I think that she's an excellent choice here and really the only choice because Italy only gets one woman, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The other team that I expect to make that top 5, unless there's catastrophe, is Canada. We have Steven Gogolev, who has definitely come on strong this season and showed up in a big way.
Yes.
You have
He's been great all season. Yeah.
You have Maddie Schizis, who is very hot and cold.
Yeah.
However, in the last Olympics, she was incredible in the team event.
Yeah, she's a team skater. When Maddie can fall apart in the singles events sometimes, but man, when the team is on the line, Maddie tends to come through.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
The ice dance hasn't been announced of which of the 3 teams are going to be there. I would expect we'll probably get 2 teams. I think we will see Piper and Paul in the rhythm and then probably Lajoie and Laga in the free with their White Crow.
That would be my expectation, yeah.
Yeah, they haven't said that. That's just my prediction. With the pairs...
Well, we know who the pairs team is going to be. It's going to be Leah Pereira and Trent Michaud.
Which I think is fantastic. They are the Canadian national champions. They have earned that distinction. Yes. And I am thrilled for them to get to compete. I only make that sigh and sad sound because Deanna Stellato-Dudek and Maxime Deschamps had to withdraw from the team event. And there is a very, very large question mark over whether or not they're even coming to Milan.
Yeah. So, which is a terrifying and heartbreaking kind of outcome. So there's been a lot of conjecture about this, this is pure conjecture as we talk about this next part here. But like what we know about them is that they had some kind of accident. We don't have any, at the time of recording, we don't have any additional information on that.
The Canadian Federation has not disclosed that.
Yeah. And what we know is that it is a matter of will they be medically released to go to Milan.
Exactly. Now, a doctor must release her. That is what they have said.
And so our thinking on that is that because we've seen a lot of people in comment threads being like, why should anybody else have this choice other than Deanna? Deanna is a trooper. She will go do, we're seeing like Lindsey Vonn blew out her ACL and is still going to compete over in in skiing, right? Yeah. But my guess is that it has to be a concussion because concussion protocols are very different. Like if you could hurt your knee, but still say, hey, I'm going to go and fight my way through it. But if you have a concussion and you haven't bounced back enough from it, the medical officers will not clear you because it is so unsafe to be out there and doing that kind of competition.
And to be clear again, we don't know this.
This is conjecture.
This is conjecture, and we don't typically do any of that.
Yeah, but that's my worry. My worry is that she's that whatever this accident, and using the term accident is also what's kind of scary about it, is that it, just because it sounds a little bit more serious. I'm like, if she has a concussion, then things are real. And we know lots of skaters have gotten back on the ice after concussions, and that it can be really challenging. We've also seen people get concussed on the ice, and it's terrifying. So I desperately want Deanna and Max in that individual competition. So I'm hoping they're going to get cleared because she changed her entire life for this moment. To lose it because of an injury right beforehand is terrifying, but you have to do what's safe.
I know. It's heartbreaking. Yeah. But the Canadian Federation said that they should know and have to make the decision between, I believe they said February 9th and February 11th. And the 11th is the absolute latest. It's probably more likely to be announced the 9th or the 10th.
Yeah.
So,
but that means there's a 7-day window to figure this out. We know Max is on the ice in training, but
we also know that the third place Canadian team, Kellyanne Laurent and Lucas Ete, are also
they're on deck
and have been notified to be prepared.
Yeah. So that, I mean, potentially that team, like, it's like basically warming up. If you're like in baseball terms, it's like warming up the reliever, like you're getting on the ice now because it's very possible that, and hopefully they have their visas and stuff all in a line.
Oh, I'm sure they do. But man, this whole situation just makes my stomach hurt.
But that puts big question marks around Canada's performance here, because Leah and Trent are terrific, but
they weren't preparing necessarily for both parts of this.
Yes.
Maybe they were.
So the impact that will have on Canada's chances remains to be seen, because they were really strong at Canadian Nationals.
They were fantastic.
And when they're on, they're great, but they do fall apart sometimes.
Everybody does.
Yeah, especially pairs teams.
Other teams that will be here but are less likely to make that top 5, but there's always a chance.
Yeah.
France. So as we mentioned, it's not official yet, but Guillaume Cizeron did acknowledge that they are probably doing the rhythm dance portion of this, which is not surprising. It's them getting their first step onto the Olympic ice as a team. So they're going to want every opportunity they can to get in front of the judges.
And if France wants a chance at making it to the free, they need them in that position. Yeah.
You will have the Kovalevs in pairs, which they're great in their own way, but they're not going to be competitive with the top teams.
Yeah, so, I mean, France has a whole lot of question marks here in the sense of when we get to like talking about the men, but like we have Camille Kovalev and Pavel Kovalev in pairs, and then in the women's you have Lauren Schild. These are good competitors, but they are not top ranked competitors.
Exactly. That's really my point. It's like, it's not, I hate throwing any kind of shade to either of them because they're great skaters. They wouldn't be here if they weren't, but they're not going to compete with the top teams.
Yeah. So those other two disciplines are going to have to try to make up the difference.
Yes.
And like you said, that's going to have like Gilo in the rhythm dance. But for the men, then it's like, are you sending Kevin Amos or are you sending Adam Shahim-Fa?
Both entirely capable of absolutely being incredible on the right day and having huge scores, or completely melting down. I feel like in the short program, you have to use Adam. I feel like that would make the most sense because of what happened at Europeans with Kevin.
Yeah.
And I hate being that way, but I just feel like it would make me feel as, if I were someone in that selection committee, I'd be like, okay, well, he's been doing his Bolero program for, multiple seasons. I'd have more faith in him doing the free skate than I would in the short. And I think Adam's short has been better this season than his free.
Yeah.
So I think you'd swap them.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what you have to do there, because especially after like Kevin failed to make the free at Europeans.
And he's had such a good season though. It's like
he threw away a great program because he had that Lady Gaga program and he changed to something else and it just completely fell apart at Europeans. I hope he goes back to the Gaga program. It was far better. But
I just want him to skate well and be happy. That's all I want. I just want Kevin to have a lovely Olympics. That's all I want. So we'll see what happens there. There's also the team from China, and this one's going to be interesting because you have Boyang Jin again at the Olympics, and he was great at Four Continents.
Terrific.
So I think that looks really solid for him. You have Wang and Liu in ice dance, and they're filling the spot, and they were a little better at Four Continents than what we saw at.
They're fine.
They're fine.
Yeah.
But again, I think they're not going to rank very high.
Like, they're likely to get above, say, like the Japanese team, but there's no way they're getting past like the Georgian team or something like that. Yeah.
Right. Then you have Ryong Zhong in the women's side. And again, very similar. She's good. It's just she's not going to be competitive.
She's very young.
She's very young.
And she got that qualifying spot at the Olympic qualifier at Chinese Nebelhorn earlier this season.
Yes.
And she's a really delightful skater. I really like her on the ice. But yeah, she is just not likely to rank anywhere near any of the top women here.
But the real question mark to me is the strength or weakness of reigning Olympic champions Sui and Han in the pair side, because they have to compete. There is only one pairs team here, but we know from Four Continents that Sui is fighting multiple injuries right now. And the pairs event isn't, I mean, they have a little downtime, so that's good. But I am terrified of her performing both programs twice. Again, it makes my stomach hurt. I'm nervous.
I have the worry that Sui Han will compete here and then have to withdraw from the individual. If she's looks like she did a couple of weeks ago at Four Continents.
Yeah.
I don't know how in the world, other than just being the fierce competitor that she is, I don't know how in the world they compete, both of them. Now, I think if they had to, I think they could withdraw entirely and they could just operate off of 3 disciplines, kind of in the way that Korea is going to. But obviously they're not going to want to do that. This is going to be the best opportunity for anybody other than Sui Han to come close to a medal. I'm so worried for her health because she, from her interviews afterwards, it sounded like she's got 3 or 4 injuries all in the same leg at the same side. And it looked so painful. Yeah, I don't know.
Let's move on to South Korea because we just talked about them. They are not going to have a pairs team because they don't have one that was able to compete here. So they're relying on the other 3 disciplines to score really, really well. We know that in ice dance, it'll be Hana Lim and Ye Kwan, who are phenomenal. Love them, but they're probably middle of the pack here is my expectation.
Again, not a team that's likely to get ahead of Diana Davis and Gleb Smolkin with the Georgians.
No.
And, are not going to come close to a Chock Bates or a Gilo or anything like that. So
my guess is they're going to be probably 6th or 7th, depending on where everyone else that actually competes.
Sure, yeah.
Maybe 6th. But the men and women are really where they're going to need their standout performances in order to compete. My guess is they're going to put Jia Shin into the short program because she's had a more, I don't even want to say that. She's had kind of an unpredictable short and free skate depending on the competition.
Right. Because she has come back up sometimes because of her free. If we look at her last set of performances, she wasn't so great in the short, but then she had a really strong free.
Yeah, that's true. They might use Hayan in the short. I don't know. We'll see. But in the men's competition, you use June.
Yeah.
Like you just have to.
Yeah.
You have to use June.
Hyun Kim is just not
he's not there yet.
Yeah.
So and I don't expect they're going to get past the short program anyway. So I think you put in Gia to give her the experience points because she's the more likely to, have a shot in the individual event. No offense to Hayan, but I love Hayan Lee. I'm so thrilled she's going to be here, but I'd just be surprised.
Yeah.
But then again, she's been surprising me all season and scoring better than Gia. So
Hayan is completely capable of being like top 6 at this thing if she puts together 2 consistent events. But Gia has probably the higher threshold if she's good in both, but that's a discussion for the
another
individuals.
Day.
But yeah, I highly expect them to wash out before the free skates because they only have 3 disciplines. They're just they're at such an uphill battle to keep going after that. But
one way or another, I'm just glad I get to see June do a short program again because that short program is phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other team, other 2 teams that are competing, you have Poland. They are unlikely.
There's almost no chance that they make it into the free here. But this is a really nice, for me, it means that we get another chance to see a Katerina Kurakova.
That's such a delight.
Do a short program here. And I'm a big fan of Katya. And I'm just really excited for her. Also for Vladimir Samoilov, because again, this is just more time on Olympic ice.
Exactly.
There's no pressure on this Polish team, right? I think that going into this, other than you want to do well, nobody has any expectations for them.
No. So just go out and have a wonderful time being part of this competition. And it just makes me feel bad whenever it's you're not making it to the second day.
I don't want to be dismissive of them, but if you look at their pairs team, and gosh, I never get her name right because the transliteration of the women pair skater is completely wrong. But it's Shchechnya and Wozniak. A delightful team, but way down in the rankings of the pair skaters, and
as is their dance team of Duval and Kolitsa. They're going to be there, I hope, just enjoying the Olympic experience.
Yes.
And like you said, we get the benefit of getting to see them.
Yeah.
That's fun.
And it's really awesome that Poland gets this representation in this 10 teams. So
exactly.
I think that is the takeaway for all of them, is just to be Olympians, to be in the team competition. Again, outside of things going really wacky, very sideways, there's very small likelihood that they make it to the free skate, but still an exciting opportunity. And again, I'm
always so happy to see Katya.
Yeah.
Great Britain is the last team, and I think it's a similar story there for them, where they have one team of their ice dance, which is very likely going to be Lila Fear and Lewis Gibson, that will lift them up for sure. But as good as their pairs team of Anastasia Vepian-Law and Luke Digby are, their man, Edward Appleby, and woman, Kristen Spores, they're all solid competitors. They're very, very unlikely to make it, similar to Poland.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Appleby and this is a guy who's usually somewhere in like the 15 to 20 range and in like Europeans and big international competitions, and Christian Sports is kind of in that same thing. You know, they're just not going to be hyper competitive against some of the heavyweights that are going to get thrown in here. Vipin-Law and Digby are a wonderful team. I love them.
And they've moved up quite a bit.
And they have, yeah, but they're still typically not like podium. You know, I think their highest ranking is somewhere in that like 7 kind of thing.
5 or
like
6.
Really? Like Europeans, was it that high? So yeah, but once you get all of the international teams together, they're scrapping for top 10 typically. So then you've got Fear and Gibson. You also have Becker and Hernandez, who could come in on the free skate
if they make it. But I just don't.
It seems unlikely.
I think Fear and Gibson are just going to want to get they want to put that Spice Girls program out there and get the crowd hyped for it so that whenever they go into Monday's competition, people are just eager and like waiting for it with bated breath.
Yeah, I think Fear and Gibson, the goal is like go out there, destroy that audience with the Spice Girls program, try to get some virality of it, and try to get people to be like, oh, now I want to see that live in the individual events.
Exactly.
Gain that extra momentum. And, I think especially for ice dance, I think every discipline, this matters, but especially for ice dance, what happens in the team event here can really set the stage for what happens individually.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
And, if you have somebody who comes in here and falls apart in the team event, that might light a fire under them to make them fight harder, or it might make them despondent. Different competitors handle things differently. But like a lot of the conversation we just had in our last episode about the ice dance was the battle for bronze, that there's a battle for gold, a battle for bronze. And obviously everybody wants gold, but realistically that doesn't happen for a lot of these teams unless Gilo or Chock and Bates just have a complete meltdown somewhere in their competitions. Entirely possible, but based on just who's best at any given time, that's what we have to kind of run with. But when you look at, we always talk about competitions within the competition. Here it's like if Lila and Lewis come in and Charlene and Marco from Italy are in these programs, they're not just fighting for their team, they're fighting to best those other ice dance teams.
Oh yeah, 100%
so that when
they are.
Roll into the individuals, that they're coming in with, oh no, I already scored higher than this team and I can beat you again in the next one. Like that's going to be, I think, some of the fiercest competition is that kind of pecking order in those individual disciplines.
Absolutely. Well, now's the fun part. Fun in quotes. Predictions.
You're gonna have to start on this one. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Team Japan's gonna take it. I know that the US has such an incredible team, but I just feel like Japan is hungrier. I don't know why. It's just a gut feeling. I think that Japan will take it. I think the US will be second, and I think Georgia's gonna take third.
I'm going to go with a contrarian one then.
Go for it. Please do.
I'm going to say that based on just the sheer force of will of a bunch of the Americans, that the US team takes it and Japan takes silver. And I'm going to say Team Italy takes the bronze position here on home ice. We're given a different spread there, right?
We are. And I mean, all season I've been saying, don't sleep on Italy. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, after Europeans, it was the like, oh, Georgia.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think that your choice there is probably slightly more likely if it wasn't for the home field advantage. I think that
you're right.
That changes everything for Italy. There's a weird consideration around when you're skating at home, which is that everybody else in the world is coming from somewhere else and they're like in this very unique position versus the Italians are Italy's not a big country. A lot of them, this is a home rink or they skate just in a
nearby,
really nearby. So for a lot of them, like the experience is very different from everybody else because they're just like rolling in. It's like us with US nationals having just been here where we could just go home every night to our house rather than going back to a hotel room or something. That changes the flavor of being even just as a spectator, let alone being a competitor. And I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know if that means they've got an extra layer of calm. I'm sure they're staying in the Olympic Village, but they're still in their home country. They're still comfortable there. Does that take some of the pressure off, or does it take away from some of the specialness of the event because you're still 2 miles away from your house or your apartment or whatever, your normal training rink? Like, you're warming up in a place that's already really comfortable and familiar to you. Is that a boon? Is that...
Probably depends on the person.
Yeah. I think it's highly specific to the individual skater, how that will impact them. And I'm going to be really curious to see here in Team what that means for Team Italy.
Whew. Well, we don't have long to wait. It's going to be upon us incredibly soon. Hope you all are as excited / maybe less anxious, because I really don't wish anxiety on anyone.
How is it that, like, we've had 4 years to prepare for this and yet it still feels sudden? You know, like when it actually arrives, it is just like, oh, now it's all happening, like right now, you know? Like, we started this show right after the last Olympics. Yeah. And so, like, this is our quadrennial, right?
It is. It's our first Olympics.
Our first Olympics as podcasters in this space. And even with all of the run up to it and talking about this entire season, it is still like, oh my gosh, like if I had fingernails, I'd be biting them, right? Like, it's just like, it's intense.
Honestly, it's even just the fact that the first competition is the women's short, and it just makes my stomach drop. Yeah.
I'm going to that's Adrian's anxiety laugh is the, oh my gosh. Yeah. I feel like I'm going to be losing sleep over all of this, but
we already are.
As I said at the top, not well rested right now, folks. Just to get these episodes out is a lot of all-nighters and stuff. So it's a little intense, but
we love it, and we're going to keep going.
Yeah. So, of course, we have more previews coming as well. We've already done the one for Ice Dance. If you haven't watched that one yet, go check that one out.
Yes.
And then, of course, the next one that'll be up after that is the men's. But I don't know if we're going to be doing the men's preview up next in rapid succession here, or if we're going to start talking about the team event as that's happening. I don't know. You're the keeper of the schedule. You tell me.
We're going to talk about the men. That's my expectation.
Cool.
That's next.
Cool. Yeah. All right. So stick with us. In the comments, drop in and tell us your predictions, who you're excited about. If your country is in the team, because again, there's only 10 countries in this. So like a lot of you are getting kind of shut out of it. Apologies there. But we know that, we have listeners in Korea and Japan and Canada and Poland. And hi, everybody. Yeah, and I want to reiterate the thing that we say all the time is that while we are US based, we are fans of everybody. And so we're like rooting for everybody in here to just do amazing, like
have a wonderful time.
Even like you said, like when we talk about like the Polish team, like they don't have a strong shot here, but I'm so hyped for all of those skaters that they get this opportunity. This is big stuff for all of them. So I hope that you're as hyped for everybody as we are, and that you're as ready to cheer for everybody, because, oh my gosh, this is just such an extraordinary experience for these skaters, and watching all of their posts on Instagram have been delightful. So we will check in with you again here shortly, I think, to preview the men.
It'll be that.
So join us for that. And for Choreography, I'm Adrian Buskey.
And I'm Wendy Buskey.
And we will talk to you next time.
Bye.